Hi, my name is Dr. Myava Clark, and I help parents and caregivers of neurodivergent children find emotional support without burning out, while they help guide their children to meaningful relationships and friendships where their children are celebrated and not just tolerated. Tonight, I'm going to talk to you about being the best version of yourself. I wear many hats. I am a respiratory therapist. I went back to school and earned my PhD in education. I am now a college professor. I am involved with physical fitness. I do a lot. I'm an author. I help parents and caregivers. This is passion for me. The reason why I'm saying this to you is I couldn't do all of these things if I didn't take care of myself. And I want to encourage you to take care of yourself. I hope that you get this sooner than I got it. And what I mean by that is when my children were younger, I poured everything into my kids. I poured everything into just being a mom and being involved with my family. And I didn't have very much time for myself. What I found when that happened, I ran on empty a lot. I ran on fumes and it didn't serve me well. When you run on fumes, you are giving people your leftovers. And when you give them your leftovers, what do you have for yourself, right? It doesn't serve you and it doesn't serve them well because you're not giving them your best. One of the things I did that that helped me is I wound up getting a therapist. I found someone that I could talk to help me navigate some things because it was challenging. It was tough at times. And my son had learning differences. My daughter had medical challenges. I was working two jobs, wife, mother, ran them around to their appointments. And I took care of everyone else and had very little for myself. So when I was seeing a therapist, she asked me one day, she said, "My Ava, what do you like?" And I thought about it and I thought about it and I thought about it. And I got very emotional. I was so busy taking care of everyone else that I forgot to take care of me. And believe it or not, I was out of touch with myself and I no longer knew what I liked. And she gave me an assignment. And that assignment was for me to go home and write down 50 things that I like. And when I tell you that was difficult, when I tell you that I struggled, I did. And I took it seriously because I needed to tap back into myself. And I wrote down things like I'll never forget when things started coming. I was grateful because I had no idea. One of the things I remember writing down was I like hot chocolate. I forgot that as a child, I liked hot chocolate. I liked to drink hot chocolate and it made me feel warm and fuzzy. And I soon, after I finished the list, I guess the next day I went to BJ's and I bought a case of hot chocolate. I remember that I like scented candles. I love nice, sweet smelling fragrances. And I like seafood. I like crab legs. And so my point to you is some of the things that I like didn't really cost a lot of money, but it made me feel good. So what I started doing is I took a scented candle in the bathroom and I kept it. I keep a scented candle in the bathroom, and when I would take my showers in the morning, I would light the candle. I like music, so I would put music on in the bathroom with my scented candle while I took my shower and I started my day. And that made me feel good. That was a easy way for me to set myself up and have a good day. Then I would come downstairs and for like every day for like at least a week, I would have hot chocolate because I needed to reset and feel good. And these were things that didn't cost a lot, but it made me feel good. So then I went through my list and I periodically, some of the things that may have cost a little bit of money, I did occasionally. I love getting my hair and my nails done. These are things that I did to make me feel good. So this was a form of self-care because I did what I needed to do to reset. I started I would go to the movies by myself. I would take myself to lunch when Chris, my husband, was at work and the kids were at school. If I was off, I'd treat myself. And what I noticed is the better I was to me, the better I was to everyone else. When I was able to show up as the best version of me, I was able to pour into my loved ones better. So I understand that self-care is not selfish. Self-care is necessary. And that's why I want to encourage you to take care of yourself. Um, Figure out what it is that you like and do it. Do it for yourself. Um, Another thing, like when I tell you that my son has learning differences, one of the things that was challenging for me is my son he was emotionally and socially behind his peers, probably I would say about 2 years. So when he would get excited in a conversation, he would start stuttering and he couldn't get his words out. Chris is also a slow processor, but guess what? So is his mother. I'm a slow processor. Sometimes when new information comes, I have to be methodical. I have to think about it and internalize it that way. And so when you have a person who is a slow processor like we are, and then when they get excited and start stuttering, that puts them even further back or further behind in a conversation. So Chris would be that way. He would be maybe when everybody else made a point and they're now moved from point A to point C, he had just received what he wanted to say about point A, and he's now trying to get into the conversation, but they have moved on, and now he doesn't get his point out, but not that not because he didn't understand, and not because he wasn't intelligent enough, but because he was a slow processor, and it took him time to formulate his words for a conversation. um, then his peers were moved on, and then he was left out of a conversation. And I think that could allow anyone to feel bad or to feel misunderstood and to try to overcompensate for that. And guess what? As a mom, it hurt my heart. It hurt my heart to see my son trying to keep up with kids and they didn't give him the time of day or they done moved on. And kids can be mean. Kids can be cruel. And it didn't feel good. And there were times, let me tell you, Chris is he is one of the kindest souls. He is very empathetic. He is loyal, and sometimes I say loyal to a fault. He was loyal to kids that didn't deserve his loyalty. He and this was tough for me. Let me explain to you. As a Christian, as a mom, as a respiratory therapist, and as an educator, I love people. I love to serve people. I love to be kind to people. However, when I see people not being kind to people I love, I feel some type of way. And it took everything in me at times not to tell Chris to not be so nice or whatever. There's a fine line because I want my child to be kind. I wanted my children to be kind. I wanted them to be empathetic to people. I raised them that way. But what do you do when you see children not being nice to your child? And I wanted to say, you know, there are times I really wanted to say, be mean back to them or do other things to them, but I didn't. I refrained because I wanted to raise a decent human being. That being said, I never wanted him to be anybody's punching bag or whipping boy. By no means did I want him to take physical abuse from anyone without defending himself. I tried to navigate the verbal space a little differently, but under no circumstances is anyone going to put their hands on him, and he wasn't going to defend himself. I, I'm gonna go off on a tangent for a minute. We were in an IEP meeting one time, my husband and my son was in elementary school, and the occupational therapist had brought up that my son was confused. He was feeling very confused. So we're listening, like, what is he confused about? She said, well, he said the school rules is that you're not supposed to hit under any circumstances. And he's getting mixed messages at home because his parents are telling him that if someone hits you, hit him back. And I let her talk. We let her get everything out. And when she finished, I said, he is absolutely right. We're not raising a punching bag or whipping boy. He's not going to be anybody's victim or target practice. And what they didn't expect, and neither did I, quite honestly, I didn't care because I told them, I said, if my son gets, I said, this is your school, these are your school rules, and you have to do what you have to do, and obey and abide by the school rules. But I said, if someone hits my son and he hits them back and he gets suspended for defending himself, I said, so be it. That's the school rule. But best believe when he goes home, we're going to celebrate him and take him out for a treat. And they looked very surprised at me. But guess what? No one expected. No one expected that the no one expected that the superintendent would say, I agree with the Clarks. We're not raising a victim here and everything. The superintendent of special ed that was at that meeting. And although I didn't need it, it was such a validation when she said that because she understood that we weren't raising him to be a terror or anything or to pick on people. But one thing we understand when you have a child that's neurodivergent and kids are not nice, then they can get worse and it can turn into bullying, physical bullying, social bullying, or verbal bullying. And we didn't want any of that. So I encourage you to find this balance. So that's why I'm in this space right now of providing emotional support for parents and caregivers because I know what it's like to want your child to make friends and to want to have a party and who do you call? Who do you call? And it doesn't feel good. And I believe that every child has the right to have these connections. Every child deserves the right to find their tribe and to be put in situations. I don't care what their situation is. If if they have autism, if they have ADHD, if they have dyslexia, anything, if they're overweight, there are so many different reasons why kids can show up and be cruel to other kids. And it's not fair. First and foremost, it's our jobs as parents to raise these human beings to be respectful and to not only give respect, but show them their value and their worth so that they will want respect in return. I don't think any child should want a friend at any cost or at their own expense. No, we need to teach our children to have pride, personal pride, and self confidence. And I don't care what their issues are. We all have issues. Every last one of us have an issue, and we have an inability that someone else has better abilities over. But when we don't deal with this on a day to day, or when it doesn't consume us, we learn to navigate that space differently. And one thing for sure, we are doing ourselves a disservice if we compare our weakness or inability to someone else's perceived strength or ability. And as an adult, I can do that. You can do that yourself. Imagine how much worse or how much more a child can do that for themselves and then add on a child with unique abilities. How much worse can it be for them to be in that space? And so what I want to do is support parents and caregivers navigating that space who find their children in the same space that my son was in, where it was at times difficult to make friends. And one of the things that Chris did that aggravated me to my core is he didn't always listen when we were telling him be with the kids that want to be with you. He had people, because he was a nice kid, he had people who wanted to be with him. He had people who enjoyed being with him, but they were like him, maybe socially awkward, or they weren't what he called the top dog. Chris always wanted to be friends when he was younger. He always wanted to be friends with the captain of the football team or someone who was, um, as he calls it, the top dog. And one day I asked Chris, I said, why do you always go for the people or the relationships that are kind of untouchable, the kids that aren't nice? And you know what he said? And I was glad I asked him that question because it shed light for me. It hurt me, but it shed light. He thought that if he could be friends with the captain of the football team, no matter how mean or not he was, no matter how unlikely it was or not, but if he could get him to like him and be friends, he thought everyone would automatically be his friend because everyone liked that person. And it took a very long time for us to get him to understand that that's not always the case, and it rarely is the case. And that was, I don't want you to go through that, you know. Um, I want to help you build your child's self-confidence and self-esteem where, like it was for me, it was hard for Chris to receive certain things from my husband and I and me because we were too familiar. We were too comfortable for him. We were just mom and dad. And I wish that there was someone like me around when I was raising my children because I needed help, I needed support, but I didn't know where to turn. I wish that the school had someone there that would be available to help me help him see his self-worth and his value and that he's worth more than that because he wouldn't always listen to me. He wouldn't always listen to my husband, but someone else could say the same thing and he'd be all in. And so I'm trying to create these spaces to give parents and caregivers the tools that they need to navigate spaces they don't even know that they need to navigate yet. And the reason why I know they need to navigate them because I've been through it already and I know what's there. And it's not fun. I'm also creating spaces where your children can have meetups when they are socially awkward and they don't have people in their area. I want to create spaces like I'm working on a retreat for parents and caregivers with children, not just for parents and caregivers to get a break. I want you to bring your children. I want to have workshops and things so they can get skills and role play on how to navigate these relationships and how to show up and talk to kids who aren't being nice to them. How do they give it back in a way that they are seeing their self-worth, that it's better to have not have that person as a friend or what they think is a friend when they're being mean to them rather than to take the mean comments and the verbal abuse. I want to help you with your children because it's it's necessary. You may not even know how necessary it is. And you know what else? I have because of my son's experience, because he went through all of this. Um, Again, remember he's this kind soul. He is now a man. My son is 27 years old and he's such an empath. He has a such a good, kind heart that when he graduated high school, my husband said to him, "What do you wish you had that you didn't have in school that could help kids today?" And Chris said, I wish someone would have taught me how to be appropriate on social media. They teach you about bullies in person and they teach you how to navigate life in person. But people at that time, I don't know exactly what they're doing now, but they weren't teaching them how to show up online and prevent being bullied. So Chris asked me to help him create this app that will help kids be safe online. I said yes. Remember, I just told you I'm a respiratory therapist, I'm a college professor. I had no background in tech, but I said yes. You know why I said yes? I said yes because my son asked me to help him with something positive. My son was showing up and wanted to do something that would make a difference to help other children not be victims of bullying or not to go through some of the experiences that he went through online when he was younger. So I did. I went to the literature and I went to Google, I went to the literature and found out that there was a gap in social and emotional learning. So Chris and I created this app that bridges the gap between social and emotional learning that children are getting in school to their real lives. So what we did was we related this stuff into social media. It's uh, social media meets education. We created this app that's designed to be a precursor to regular social media apps. It's called Case and Connect. It's by invitation only. We created Case and Connect because we wanted to teach kids about bullying. We give them bullying identification information, such as to tell when they're being bullied, when they're witnessing bullying, or if they are themselves, in fact, the bully. Sometimes kids are bullies and don't even realize it because they think that bullying only involves physical touch, like hitting, pushing, spitting, kicking. Yes, that's physical bullying, but do you know that there's something called social bullying? And social bullying is spreading rumors about someone, it's isolating someone, and it is just excluding them. That's social bullying. Then you have verbal bullying. Verbal bullying is you're yelling at someone, you're screaming at them, you calling them names. That's verbal bullying. And then you have yet cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is bullying that occurs over different devices. It can occur via email, it can occur over text, social media platforms, gaming, and we are educating these children about that. And with our app, we also teach them how to interact responsibly with adults and peers online. As an online professor with my college students, I have them make a post or answer a question, and then they have to respond to two of their peers. I do the same thing in the app. So even with as a child, we're teaching them these skills that they need when they get older. Um, I really think this is going to take off one day. I believe with every fiber of my being that one of these social media platforms is going to like what we have to say. I believe that they're going to want our platform to be a precursor to their platform. Maybe it'll be Facebook, maybe it'll be Instagram. Who knows what it's going to be? But I'm telling you, it's going to be something. The reason why I have such strong conviction is because my son is the one with the lived experience who went through this, who reached back to help other kids. I went through this with my lived experience indirectly by watching my son and navigating life with him. And as an educator, not just a mom, not just a parent, but as an educator, put a lot of thought into this. And the reason why we're called CASEN, Collaborative Advancement for Social and Emotional Needs, is because we actually collaborated. We collaborated with a speech language pathologist. We collaborated with an occupational therapist, a general education teacher, a social emotional learning expert, as well as people in special ed to come up with our curriculum and to come up with our platform. It is all inclusive because we care, because we want to give back. Someone's going to see this, someone's going to come and find us, and someone is going to um, introduce and bring this to the world on a global level. And I know that. I say that with the strongest conviction. And you know why? Because I realize that I'm on an assignment. Chris and I are both on assignment. This was our journey, it's our story, but it's for God's glory because it's bigger than us. We had to go through the pain, but this is so much bigger than us. And I accept the calling. And it's about availability and it's about obedience. And we are answering the call. So if you like anything that I said and you want to connect with me, I encourage you to get on a call, schedule an interview with me so I can see how it is and what it is I can do to serve you. How can I show up to help you be the best version of you in this space for your child? If you want to meet with me, I want you to go to mothersofexceptionalkids.com/interview. That's mothersofexceptionalkids.com/interview and set up an appointment with me so we can talk. Again, I hope that you got something out of this. I hope you realize you are not alone. I hope you realize that you don't have to navigate this space by yourself, that Dr. Myava Clark is here for you because she helps parents and caregivers of neurodivergent children find emotional support without burning out as they find help guide their children to find meaningful relationships and friendships where they are celebrated and not just tolerated. I look forward to talking to you. I look forward to our interviews so I can see how I can help you and how I can serve you. Thank you. Until next time, take care. Bye.